Hi all. So today we'll talk about web workers. But before explaining that, I'll just brief about how the JavaScript architecture looks like. Components inside it. Okay. So it has a call stack. Okay. So call stack is basically the area where it's essentially a stack where all the processes or execution context or the code blocks, let's say, are being executed. Okay, this is different execution contexts. Okay. Now, since it's a stack, so the first element, the top element in the stack, this call stack, will be executed first, and once the execution is done, it is popped out of the stack. Okay, and the next top element, P2 in our case, it will be executed. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Let's see the other component, that is the web API. Now, what is a web API? So web API is a set of APIs. It provides a set of APIs for some additional functionality. For example, we have set timeout, we have add event listeners. Okay, add event listeners. Now there is another component as queue and queue. So for simplicity, we'll just consider this as the callback queue because ideally we have microtask queue, we have callback queue. Microtask has got the higher priority and callback has got the lower priority. Sorry. So yeah, and this callback queue contains callbacks that is to be executed. Let's say callback 1, callback 2. Okay. Now, the other component is event loop. Okay, this is event loop. Okay. Now, what's the working of event loop? For that, I should be explaining this. So when I said that P2, the top element, it will be executed and it will be popped out of this call stack. Okay. So imagine if P2 gets executed. Now there is a turn for P1. Now P1 gets executed. Now P1 is thrown out of the stack. Now what? This call stack is also our main thread, and this is the only place where execution takes place. Okay, in our main thread. Now whenever it is empty, okay, if it is empty or let's say it is free, the event loop will check the queue whether there is a callback in the callback queue. It is there. So if main thread is empty, then only event loop checks for the queue. So there is a callback, it will be removed from here and it will be pushed here in this callback. Okay, sorry. Now once this callback execution will be done, so again it will be thrown out of the stack. Okay, and since it is empty, so the event loop will again check the queue if there is a callback. So there is again a callback, so callback 2 will be pushed into the stack and will be removed from the queue, the callback queue in our case. Again the callback 2 will be executed, and once this is executed, the main thread becomes free again. Now what's the problem? The problem is, if there is a process running in the main thread and assume there is a callback here. Now if this P takes n seconds to execute, okay, listen carefully. If this P process takes n seconds, that means only after n seconds this event loop is going to check if there is any callback in the callback queue. Is it right? Okay. That means this callback queue has to wait for at least n seconds, right? This callback queue will be waiting for at least n seconds, because for n seconds this will be executed. Okay. And for this callback, this phenomenon will be called as starvation, because this callback is getting starved, is waiting for the processing resource. So this main thread is where the execution takes place. So this is a processing unit, right? So this callback waits for the processing unit. That's a resource, right? So it is waiting for the resource to get executed, but that is being occupied by P1. And since n could be anything, if n is large, that means CB has to wait, this callback has to wait for a long time, and that's when it is getting starved, right? Now that's the problem which web work is trying to solve. See, whenever we learn new terms, we should try to know what problem it solves, not simply that a new terms comes in and we start reading about it. We should know what problem it solves. Okay. And this callback, where does this callback come? So this add event listener, we attach several click listeners. Okay. So for example, there's a click event on any of the element, DOM element, and we register a callback here. Okay. So whenever this click is done, this callback is pushed into the callback queue. So now you know where does this callback comes from. Whenever we click a button, this callback will be pushed into the queue. And now this queue, since this is a callback queue, this will wait for the main thread to get free, so that the event loop can pick the callback from this queue to the call stack. Now web worker, what is a web worker here? How does it solve? So web worker is nothing but, again, it's a piece of code only, but it has got, it's a web worker. Okay. But it has got dedicated CPU for processing. Okay. So dedicated means there will be a separate execution happening for this while the main thread is executing. Okay. It can parallelly execute this as well as this. So there will be a separate processing unit, dedicated processing unit given to this webworker. Now that was a bit of theory. So let's see the problem in reality. So we'll have this webworker, and let's create a basic HTML file here, and we'll keep as simple as possible. Okay. So the title would be like web workers. Okay. And let it have the body of one, working with web workers. Okay. Save it, and what next? Okay, so for those who don't know, there is a package called HTTP server, which whenever runs on any of the path, it starts to serve the static files of that path. Okay, so if I'll run the HTTP server over here inside the web worker folder, so it will start to serve this folder. And let's go to this localhost port 8080. We'll have this. So yeah, this is working, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's include a button. Okay, button, large computation. Okay, and there will be another button to change. Okay, change background. Okay, now let's give id as heavy and the other one as id bg for background. Okay, now save it, let's run it. So there is a button, I'll zoom it a bit. Okay, yeah, this is visible, right? So let's include some script for the functionality of those buttons. Index.js. So I have created a simple JS file. Okay, so let's get a hold of those buttons. Heavy is equals to document dot get element by id, and we have the id as heavy, right? And the other button was change background button. Okay, it has got document dot get element by id, and the id was bg, right? Now we want to attach a event listener for heavy button as on click of it. Okay, and what do we want to do? Some heavy competition, sum of, let's say, billion numbers, sum of billions, let's say. And let's define a function sum of billion, right? Let there be a variable initialized with 0, while this x is less than a billion, 3 more zeros and 3 more zeros. Okay, let have the sum equal to 0. Okay, sum plus equal to x and x plus plus. Cool. We'll simply log the result into the console as the sum is x. Oh, cool. And also let's log to the console that okay, we have started the calculation. Summing up. Okay. So this says okay, we have started summing up the numbers. Now let's include this script into our HTML. So I'll write a script src and index.js. Okay, we'll save it. And let's refresh it. Cannot read properties of undefined null. Okay, okay, sorry. So this script is before body, so once this script is loaded, it will try to execute this file, our JS script, but it will not be able to find the button, since till now body is not rendered. So we'll do one thing, we'll just make this script below the body so that body will be rendered and then script will be loaded. Now we'll save it and refresh it and it should work. So yeah, it is working, right? Well, we'll say large computation, see it's summing up and sum is this much. Well, it throws the result very fast, so let's increase the number by one more zero. Okay, let's save it and let's also attach event listener to this change background button. Okay, so change background dot add event listener. On click we want to change the background, change background. Okay, and let's have a function change background. Okay, and we want to get a hold of body, so const body will be document dot get element by tag name body. And since this get elements, right, so it will return the collection, basically anything that matches this tag, right? But for body we just have one body in our HTML document, so the first element, that is the 0 index, will be the our target element. So let's store the current color as body dot style dot background. ground. Okay, and let's say if color is red, then change it to what? Blue. Okay, blue. Else if color is blue, okay, change the color to green. And else, I mean, if it is not, then make this color to red. Okay, just to toggle among the colors, just to see if it is working, right? Okay, we'll refresh the page, and yeah, it's working, right? Now let's do one thing. I'll click on large computation so that it will display the summing up, and I'll try to change the background. Okay, I have clicked it. Now I'm changing the background, but you can see it is not working, right? See, it's not working. So this summing up is what has occupied the main thread. Now see, my cursor was here, but the change was made, right? The color was changed. How? In this scenario, see, there is a callback attached with the change background. Okay, so this callback, when we click the button change background, it goes here. Okay, the callback to change background was in the callback queue, but the main thread was busy with summing up the numbers. Okay, now as soon as this is executed, now event loop checks for the callback. Okay, there was a callback, and then it is being pushed to the main thread, and that's when you noticed, even though my cursor was here, even though we were not doing anything, after this sum, okay, the background was changed. Now you understand? Okay, so this is the problem. Now change background is a functionality, okay, that any web application can have, and large computation is the thing that could take a while to execute in the main thread. So because of this large or heavy computations, this feature is not working, and hence our website is not responsive. Okay, so this is the feature, and this is something that is taking the main thread. So that was it from this video, and let's see how to solve this issue in the next video.